All right, we'd like to get started and like to welcome everyone here. Grateful for everyone that's here in person and out there in wonderful TV land. So to get started, I've asked Tyler Jacobson to give us a word of prayer.
Our dear kind Father in heaven, we are very grateful to be gathered as a city tonight to discuss the successes and also the upcoming needs of the city, and we ask you to please direct us as we do so, and we pray and ask you to bless those leaders, the mayor and council and other leaders of the community, that they will have inspiration given to them on which decisions to make so that the right decisions are made, and we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tyler. I've asked Councilman Mendenhall to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will the audience please rise and repeat the pledge after me? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we've got some wonderful people that come and visit our city today. So we've got Strawberry Days and the royalty and all the fun stuff. So come on down.
I'm just going to put this over here. It just goes
yeah,
right
the
here.
cookies
Oh,
are
right over there.
Those cookies on top specifically are not to go anywhere near that.
If you don't want to go there, you go over here, because she knows how to get them to us.
Here, I'll give you the cookies.
Oh.
Compromise.
Wow, there's a political correct person.
It's just what she's doing.
All right, so we're the new Miss Pleasant Grove royalty, and we're here to invite you guys to Strawberry Days in the third week of June. And I'm Taryn Christensen.
I'm Bailey Sherritt. I'm Morgan Carlson.
So we're your guys' new rodeo royalty. Our queen isn't here today, but her name is Mikkel Wall. I'm first attendant, and I'm Grace Green.
I'm JC Carter, second attendant.
And we just want to invite you guys out to the rodeo, which is June 20th through the 23rd. And the themes for each night is Wednesday is family night, Thursday is kids night, Friday is tough enough to wear pink, and Saturday is patriotic night.
So you can buy tickets online at the rodeo website, strawberrydaysrodeo.com, or you can buy them at the Smith's or Macy's locations in Pleasant Grove. And we're sure to sell out, so be sure to get your tickets in advance, as it is all reserved seating this year.
Awesome.
And there's also tons of other things going on during the week of Strawberry Days. And we're just going to talk about one of our favorite parts, and mine is the car show, which is actually coming up really soon. And it's so much fun to see all the different cars that we have in Pleasant Grove and everywhere, and go on the car cruise down the town.
And my favorite part about Strawberry Days is the carnival. It's a great place to bring your family to celebrate Strawberry Days. And my favorite part is the strawberries and cream, because obviously it's the best. And we have it at almost every event throughout the week. It's free Tuesday nights at our concert in the park, and I promise it won't disappoint.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for coming, and thank for the treats, and wish you the very much success on your celebration, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's move into public comments. Anyone from the public would like to come up and address the mayor and the council, you're welcome to come up. Scouts? Okay, be that way then. All right, seeing none, we'll go to council comments. And I think we're at Councilman Gordon.
Really? Start with me.
Yeah, it's your turn.
This is when he prepares, though.
Nice.
Well,
thank you, Mayor. A couple things I wanted to touch on. We had a Downtown on Main meeting. Talked about some of the upcoming events. The only thing that I want to mention in June is the Street Fair on Main. That's June 16th. And that's anything, maybe Heather will add something to that. I don't know if there's anything else that we want to add there. We discussed parking as well, and any challenges there, and sort of kicked that around with Dave Anderson a little bit, and some of the local businesses on Main Street. So it was a good meeting. The other meeting that I had was a Solid Waste District, or garbage meeting. We passed a budget for the 2018 and 19 year. Always interesting to see the challenges that we are having. Again, you've heard me, like a broken record, talk about recycling. The best way I can say is in America, 20% of our recycled material is not able to be recycled. The stuff we're sending to China, or that is to be recycled, is supposed to be 1% or less. So we've got a lot of educating to do, and we need to get better. The things that we're putting in our blue cans are not approved. Some of the things that we put in there. Some things that I found in my can this week that should not have been there was frozen food containers. I was looking at my list of approved things, and we'll get some of this stuff on our city website more available to the public, but I noticed that we had put cardboard that had housed some frozen food in it, and that's not acceptable. I didn't know that. So I'm still bettering myself and keep challenging the people of Spanish Fork. That is the only item on our budget that did change. We did need to take an increase in recycling. We're not subsidizing it, so we're charging what needs to be charged. So with that, we're moving up to what is it, $65 a ton, excuse me. And just to give you an example of what's happening around the country, Boise, $65 a ton. Phoenix is $75 a ton. Twin Falls is $136 a ton. San Francisco, $100 a ton. Oregon is just taking it all to the landfill. And I've said that before, and it's just interesting to me because people in Oregon are very proactive in the recycling business and things of that. So we just keep trying to educate people, and hopefully we get better at that recycling part of things. But other than that, that's the only change in our budget. At the Solid Waste District, things are going very well there. Our plan to build a new transfer station, as the current one is outdated. We broke a record. The day after Memorial Day, we took in 1,200 tons at that location, and that's a lot of garbage in one day. And so we know we've got to do something, and we've started the wheels in motion to get a new transfer station built. So that's all I have to report, Mayor.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to invite Heather with the Chamber, Heather Youd, up to give us some tidbits on the Chamber of Commerce.
So probably the biggest thing is we have moved out of the city office and are now into our own building. We just moved last week. So our new location is 67 East, 100 North, just right behind Tabitha's Way. We finally have internet today, so yay.
All right.
All right.
We had a ribbon cutting for Crumble on Monday. It was delicious.
Yeah, Mayor
so if
got
you
there
haven't
late.
had it,
I came late, and they still had cookies,
oh good.
and they were
And they
awesome.
were good.
Yeah.
Our June business of the month is Neil Dastrup Insurance. We're doing that tomorrow at noon. So that's just up on the top of Center Street in that little strip mall up there. In coordination with the Downtown on Main, we have been doing food trucks on Main every Friday night, and it seems to be doing really well. All the food trucks have reported that they're doing well, and it's been busy every time that I've gone down there. So we are doing movies in the park. I do have a list of the movies for June. They are, if I can get it open. So this Friday is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is the older one, not the new one. That's sponsored by Quick Quack. On the 15th is Maleficent. That's sponsored by Hedro. The 22nd is Pirates of the Caribbean, the most recent version, so the 2017 film. And that's being sponsored by Tabitha's Way and Arcade Creative Solutions. And then on the 29th is Wonder, and that's being sponsored by Amy Lynn Jones. She's a real estate agent over in Salem. So, and then the last thing I have is on June 21st here in the council chambers. Yes, Dave? Pardon me? 21st for the.
Right here in this room. Yes.
Okay. So, as part of the Main Street redesign project that we have going, We're doing a workshop with local businesses and community members. We would like them to come, have some interaction, give some input. We'll also have a survey going out within the next week or so, asking for different input about parking, different things like that. So if you can make it, we would love for you to be able to attend that. So
What time will that be?
4:30. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Heather.
Appreciate that, Heather. Is that it?
That's all for me. Yes,
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Argal.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to mention that had a water board meeting, committee meeting. We're working on going forward with the Mount Nebo Water Board and working on a groundwater project or program for this area. Also would like to mention the seniors, they'll be having their last meals and closing for the summer. They close for the summer until August, just a short few weeks. They take a break for that, and I know that sometimes seniors really miss that time that they have to come and visit with each other, but they'll be closing for that short time. I also want to do a shout out for the trucks to the city. Take a minute and come down to the park. The variety is really good. I've come down a couple of times, didn't know. We have a rule at our house after 6 o'clock, and so we ride down here and didn't want to cook anything, and so we rode down to the park, and there's some good choices. There's some new trucks there that I haven't even seen around, so you can come down and try some new things and visit with your neighbors, and it's been very pleasant in the park, which it always is. Take the opportunity to come down and try some of those new things that are coming around. I keep seeing new trucks, and of course my wife loves Waffle Love, and if it's here, we're here, so that's just how that works. But anyway, thanks to the chamber for that, and we'll continue doing that. I enjoy that. It's a nice little quiet outing, even for your whole family to come down. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Councilmember Beck.
Okay, this weekend on Friday and Saturday night at Maple Mountain High School will be the Little Miss competition pageant. So that will be at 6 p.m. and there are over 50 girls trying out this year. So it's just a great opportunity for these little girls and teenage girls to learn some leadership skills and interviewing opportunities. And then those who are chosen to represent their age group get to serve and be out in the community for the upcoming year. So if you're free on Friday and Saturday, they'll divide the age groups up, and that'll be at 6 p.m. And then Pam Jackson's here, so you have a moment. I won't say anything about the library because you're going to share. No, I'll let you. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but our family has been down to the food trucks 2 of the 3 weekends as well, and it's awesome. So I echo what Heather and Chad have both said. It's going to be a really fun, eventful summer with this tradition. So thanks to the Downtown on Main, the city, and the Chamber of Commerce. That's all.
Thank you. Councilman Scobes.
Mayor, a couple of things. First, appreciate the Veterans Council, the American Legion, VFW, all they did for the Memorial Day celebration. What a wonderful event, all those that volunteered to put the crosses out, Richard Davis, and multiple other names. I don't mean to leave anyone out, but just really appreciate the support of veterans here in the community, the show of citizens that like and appreciate going to that ceremony each year. What a great tradition that is, and just really appreciate all those that participated and volunteered their time. Also, we got the animal shelter report. I thought I'd try something a little different, just so that, with the nice weather, people are out with their animals walking, or animals are outside a lot more than with the snow and ice. Just in this past month, in the month of May, the shelter had obtained, either they were impounded, very few actually were impounded, most were picked up as strays and things, 67 combined, dogs and cats. Cats were about 2 to 1, 40 some odd cats were picked up, 24 dogs. So just a reminder, as your families are out, and many people's pets are parts of the family, make sure that you keep them corralled, on leashes, properly secured, both for their safety as well as the safety of the community. We have our next meeting on August 7th, and so we'll have a report later at that time. Also coming up on June 21st, we have a Utah Lake Commission meeting, and we'll have more to follow after that meeting. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Councilman Mendenhall.
Thank you, Mayor. Had the privilege last Thursday, to join some elected officials up in North Salt Lake and go on a refueling mission with KC-135s, refueling the new F-35s out of, yes, Chief, you should be jealous because it was cool, out of Hill Air Force Base. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. It's one of those things where you take a picture and you look at the picture after and you're like, that does not do it justice for how cool that is. I thought it was that I would be the only Spanish Fork person up there until a guy started briefing us with a name. I won't say it here because I don't know if their family wants me to tell them, but it's a very recognizable Spanish Fork name. And when I got home, his mother reached out and said, yeah, that's our son. So Spanish Fork pride is up there at the Utah Air National Guard, and ready to, yeah, see? And there's me right there. I didn't pilot that.
There you are again.
Wow.
And there you are again.
This one's my favorite, back, under the plane.
Yeah, I was checking it out.
You didn't know anything.
I was teaching the rest of that crew, Brandon, what that was all about.
Checking the oil leaks.
That gentleman right there on the right.
Okay, Maverick.
Hey, Goose.
Yeah. That guy is from Spanish Fork there, and I didn't know that until I got home, but he was telling us all about the underbelly of that plane, the lights that make it so an F-35 knows to go forward or backwards, and line that fuel line up to refuel. Yeah, Kier's seen that stuff all the time, but us regular civilians, Kier, that stuff can kind of be cool and then scare you too.
Still amazes me after 20 years. So.
Yeah, pretty neat stuff. And Mark Eaton didn't really fit in the plane. I don't know what he was doing there. He wasn't a public official, but yeah, that guy in the middle. I told the mayor, I texted Brandon and said, if I go down today, it's with my SF socks on, so I wore my SF socks. But really cool stuff, and it was cool to see them definitely ready for the fight, the Utah Air National Guard. So rest assured, they're ready to go if we ever need them. June 16th, not this Saturday, next Saturday, the SF Active and Healthy Wellness Fair will be down at the sports park, the second annual fair. All the booth spots are filling up, so make sure if you're planning out your upcoming week that you come and join us down there. We've got great prizes to give away. The mayor, I've committed you to run the 2.5 mile or 2.5K. What is that, a mile, Seth?
Mile and a half.
He can do a mile. Yeah.
Wow. I can't even see that.
Yeah, okay. He'll be there, and make sure and come down with your family at 9:30 and run that, or walk that, or crawl that, whatever you can do. You'll get a cool T-shirt afterwards for doing that, and lots of prizes given away that day. So Scouts, make sure to tell your parents next Saturday you're busy in the morning, okay, from 9 to about 11 or noon. Free food, hot dogs, chips, drinks, everything, and a lot of fun stuff down there at the sports park for the Active and Healthy Fair. So you'll see the signs start going up this week, and make sure and plan for that. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Appreciate that. Appreciate the reports here, everybody's committees. And so the only thing I have to report is it was my mom's birthday the other day. She's 92 years old, and I just want to wish her a happy birthday. So she's still going strong, still living at home, and so she's doing good.
One of the 3 people watching tonight.
Yes.
Ruth.
Yeah.
Hi, Ruth.
Yes, she still loves me. So, all right, let's go to Spanish Fork 101. Summer library programs.
I wanted to take a minute and thank all the businesses that have contributed to the summer reading prizes. The majority of these are for the teens and adults. And I also would like to thank the board and Stacy for all the work that they did to collect these prizes from the businesses. I really appreciate the effort that went into this. And Stacy also contributed, and thank you for that. Even though your name's not on the list, I want to recognize you for also donating. Thanks, Stacy.
Let me just tell you what I contributed.
It was awesome.
Chocolate. I won it at a chamber event. Remember, Heather? and I was like on this diet for like 30 days. It didn't really last but 10, but I gave up my chocolate to the library board, so you're welcome.
But it was the best ever. It was mint truffle.
My point is I want it back, Pam. Yeah.
All right, you sign up for the summer reading, and we'll.
I did. I signed up.
Yay.
So now I need to win it back, huh?
Exactly. Anyway, the list of businesses that we've had that contributed, and I hope I didn't leave anyone off when this list was compiled with the help of a staff member. This may have been before we got all the contributions in, but we have Big Brat Boutique, Chamber of Commerce Downtown on Main, Confetti Antiques, Denny's, Five Guys, Laura Kay's Garden Center, Lulu's Craft Corner, My Sister's Closet, Olive Garden, Quick Quack Car Wash, Red 8 Asian Bistro, Roxbury Juice, Spanish Fork Parks and Rec, Spanish Fork Swimming Pool, Starbucks, Summit Spa and Float, Teriyaki Grill, Utah Valley Magazine, and those were Boondocks gift certificates. And we are just so excited, and the people apparently are too, because we're doing really well with our signups. We started doing signups on May 21st, and as of this morning, and the numbers have increased since this morning, but we had 373 teens signed up, 532 adults signed up, and our children are numbering over 1,200. So we're expecting to have pretty good numbers by the time we keep this going. We will continue to take sign-ups until June 30th. The program itself runs through August 3rd. So just for the acknowledgement for everyone involved in making this happen, I really appreciate it. And this gives you a little bit of information about the teen program. I won't go into a lot of detail about any of these, but if you come into the library or check our Facebook or our website, it gives you more information as well. But this tells you about some of the fun teen events. We've got Cupcake Wars, Water Balloon Extravaganza, Back to School, Do-It-Yourselves, Dungeons and Dragons Club, and a lot of fun prizes and fun activities for the teens. So we really encourage them to continue to come and sign up and get involved. And these are a list of our story times for the summer and the days and times that those are held. And on Mondays, we're having what we call our Rock and Roll Monday, because our theme is Libraries Rock. And we started our first event yesterday with a puppet show. We've got one every Monday at 1 o'clock, and the puppet show is out in the park. Our next slides will show you the attendance on our puppet shows. These were some of the slides that they were able to get. We have 3 pictures that we were able to have taken. We estimate the attendance at well over 200 for the puppet event, and we've had a lot of great feedback from the community on how much fun it was. They seem to have really enjoyed it. And we are just excited to be part of the community and see the interest and the involvement that our citizens have had with our summer reading. We appreciate it a lot. We appreciate the council's support and the prizes that we're able to buy with the budget as well, that you've allowed us to be generous enough to get those things that we need for the kids and the others that are participating, and for all my staff and all the hard work that they do. Do we have any questions about anything, or?
I was in Boston last week, and I went to the library. You'll be so proud. I just wanted to report that.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm so glad to know that.
The library, no matter what state you're in.
It's true. And there's a lot of variety in the libraries that you go into.
They had a live radio broadcast going, but I guess they have there every day.
There you go.
So enjoyed that for a minute.
Well, that sounds fun. Thanks for sharing that.
I'd see you got a little educated.
Thanks, Mayor.
Kids out of school, now you're that much busier at the library, right?
It's true. Yes,
Bursting at the seams. Not enough room.
We have a few slow minutes, but in between, yes, we're very busy. And we're excited to see that. That's part of the fun.
Pam, will you just share, when I came in a couple of months ago, you guys taught me how to download the Overdrive app.
Yes.
Tell everyone what that is, because I've loved it.
The Overdrive app is amazing. If you have a library card, you can go onto the Overdrive app and you can get free downloadable ebooks or audiobooks. And you have them you can select whether you have a 2-week or 3-week checkout on those. And if you're traveling, there is nothing that beats that. It's absolutely free. You just need an active library card. I've got the app on my phone. I love to have the audio. It's so simple. And if you need any help getting it set up, we're absolutely there to answer any questions and help you get it set up and taken care of. Most of those titles are provided through the state library, but we do have some budget money set aside that we purchase additional titles to enhance what the state library has. So it's a pretty good selection, and if there's ever anything that you're wanting that you don't see, we welcome a request. We'll do our best to see if it's available.
Awesome.
Thanks for
you.
pointing that out, Stacy.
Yeah, I love
Appreciate
that.
it.
Great.
Any other questions or anything I can answer?
I'll do it. Thanks,
All right.
Pam.
Thank you all
Appreciate
so
all you do
much.
down there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
All right. Water Conservation Program.
Readers,
Readers. Yeah, he knows. I've trained him. Whether he listens or not.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, we've been talking about this to the city council for quite some time, saying that it's coming, and it's now here, and it's public, and anyone can sign up for it. It's the 2018 Water Conservation Program, which we anticipate will go for 3 years. And basically what it is an opportunity to get for free a smart water sprinkler irrigation controller, one that you can operate from your phone and that will look at the weather forecast and look at the weather history and the temperatures and the wind and the rain and make smart decisions about when to water your lawn. So what I wanted to do is just give you a brief history of how we got here. And the history starts with a pilot program that we did 3 years ago. And this pilot program was to give a controller to residents with a little rain gauge in it to help stop people from watering when it rained. And all they had to do is pay $50. They get a $300 controller, and we would come in and we'd take an hour of their time and we would evaluate all of their sprinklers, that we'd do an audit and do all of this, and we learned a lot from that. We only got 60 signups. At that time we were hoping for 100, we only could get 60 people to sign up. They had to pay $50 and they had to come into the city office to pay that and sign up. And so what we learned from that is in order to make something like this work, it has to be completely free. And it has to take no time. And so we were able to implement that into a new program, and then we sold it to the state and the district, and they gave us a $600,000 grant to buy 3,500 of these smart controllers, which are a lot better controller than what we used in our pilot program. We tested these smart controllers out for the last year and a half at different homes throughout the city, and they worked very well. It was really nice. One of them we tested was at my house, and I wouldn't think about when to water, and I would know that if it was raining, it would stop watering, and it would make the decisions of when to turn the water on in the spring, when to ramp up as it got warmer, and then ramp down as it got cooler in the fall, and then it would stop watering when it was appropriate. And one of the things that really impressed me about these controllers is how much detail they would take into consideration when setting it up initially. So when you set up one of these smart controllers, the first thing that you do is, and maybe I'll back up here, this program includes a professional installation. So if you signed up to receive one of these smart controllers, then a professional will come out, set it up for you, help you set up the app on your phone and teach you how to use it and get everything set so that you don't have to worry about your sprinklers anymore and they can just run. But when he sets it up, what he will do is he will take a soil plug remover and go out to your front lawn and take a plug out of the grass in your front lawn, and then he'll take that little soil sample, if you will, and he'll wet it down, and he'll classify the soil. He'll enter that soil classification into your controller, and then he'll enter each zone individually by the number of heads in that zone, the type of heads that are in the zone, the type of plant that's being watered. He'll enter how much shade there is in that area with trees around. He'll enter the slope of the landscaping and a number of variables that will then be used to calculate ET and when watering should happen. Then these smart controllers, they connect to the internet through Wi-Fi, and what they do is they take the past weather history. So they say, well, we were at 85 degrees 2 days ago, and then 87 degrees today, and 84 degrees the day before, and it will calculate how much water should be in the ground based on the temperatures, about the rainfall, and it'll even take into consideration, and this is good in Spanish for it, the wind. Wind will evaporate water from your sprinklers 6 times faster than the sun in the middle of the day. And so you definitely do not want to be watering whenever it's windy. And it takes all of this into consideration and decides when it makes sense to water. One of the things that I enjoyed as I've been testing this out is in the morning I would look, and based upon the weather history and the weather forecast, it would have this plan for when all my stations would water. And it would water them all differently depending upon the type of head and the type of plant that was being watered. And then after I would look at this and see when the watering would occur, I would look at it later in the afternoon, and it would all change because the weather forecast changes about that often. And it was interesting to me, and I followed it for a little while, but then eventually I just forgot I had a sprinkler system because I never had to worry about it, and my grass was greener than ever, and it just took care of things, and so it was a nice deal for me. Now, some people are kind of nervous to leave something as precious as their lawn to a computer program, if you will, and so there are options where you can say, well, I kind of feel like this area needs to water a little bit more than what you normally would do, and you can ratchet it up a little bit. You can say things like, well, I mow my lawn every Saturday morning, so don't ever water on Saturday mornings. And it will program all your watering around that period of time that you don't want it to water. You can say things like, well, I have a newly planted garden that needs to water every other day because the plants need to get root. You can set your garden on a totally separate schedule, and the sprinkler system will water that how you indicate, and you can slowly ramp that up or down just like you would on a normal sprinkler controller. But the difference is you're doing it in bed on your phone instead of out in the garage trying to turn buttons and figure it out that way. So much more convenient. You could even do it when you're across town or even in another state or country. You can have control over your sprinkler system. Another nice thing about these sprinkler controllers is that they notify you of things. I just watered all your stations. You'll get a text if you want. Or they'll notify you, we skipped watering today because it rained or it was windy. And so some of those notifications are kind of nice, especially maybe if you're out of town and there's a comfort level and, okay, my sprinkler system watered today, and then a few days later it watered. You don't have to worry, well, was it off or on? And some of the problems, like if it's not working, it notifies you of those problems. And so it's been a really fun test project for me to have that. It's been very good in my yard, and so we're really excited to be able to offer this to all the Spanish Fork City residents who sign up first come, first serve. There's about 3,500 that we can afford to install with the grants as they are. And it's absolutely free, and it's really easy to sign up. I want to show you how that's done. If you go to our website, which is SpanishFork.org/conservewater, it will take you to this website. You can also reach a link either through the news or through the pressurized irrigation website. All you have to do is click this button right here, and it brings up a sign-up page. And you have to put your name, you have to put your mobile number. Now, unfortunately, since this is run by a smartphone, you have to have a smartphone to qualify. So if you don't have a smartphone, don't sign up. We can't set you up. The other thing is you have to let us know if you have Wi-Fi in the home. Because this unit is a smart controller, it has to have Wi-Fi to work. So that's the second thing that you need, is you have to have a Wi-Fi in your home in order to sign up for this. You put your email address. This email address will be used unless you change when we go to install it to set up your account. Your address. We have an optional setting. Not everyone understands their sprinkler system well enough to know how many zones they have, but it is useful if we know it ahead of time. We come prepared with extra controllers in case you have a lot of zones, and so don't not sign up just because you don't know how many zones you have in your yard. That's an optional, but it is helpful if you do know. And then where your controller is located, whether it's inside, like in your garage or your home, or whether it's outside. Most of them are inside, but some people have them outside. If it's outside, we have these waterproof cabinets that we put them in, and we install those for free professionally as well. And so there is no cost to this program at all. And then we'd like to know how you heard about it. There is a couple other requirements. One is that the homeowner be present during the installation, just so that we're not in your house or your garage without you around, and also so that we can help you set up the application on your phone. And also, a lot of times people have gardens or special watering needs for different areas. We want to set all that up initially how you want it. We're really excited about this program. We did a soft start about a week and a half ago, where we just asked city employees if they would be willing to sign up. We wanted to get our professional installers well-trained and understanding the system and setting up right with people that we could really go back and forth with before we made it totally open to the public. With that, we also then asked the employees to kind of tell their family and friends and neighbors about it. And we've had a huge amount of success with this. We've already had about 250 people sign up, which blows away our pilot program record. So, and we're doing it for $50 less, that's all. We just reduced the price, by $50, and incredible what the response was. But we're really excited about this program, and one of the main reasons why we are excited about this program is because these smart controllers can help us to have people water at different time intervals. So if you're on a cul-de-sac, you don't have all your neighbors watering at the same time. When that happens, then the pressure goes down. If you can alternate all of the watering on your street, then everyone has better pressure. So that's a positive. The other positive with that, if we can spread out the demand on our system and not have huge peaks when everyone wants to water their lawns at the same time, then we do not have to pump as much water up to our reservoir to get ready for the high demand periods of time. And that saves us a lot of money in pumping costs to pump all that water to fill up the Spanish Fork Reservoir. We can just leave it full and not use it as often. and save money on power. But it also allows our overall system. When Spanish Fork City was very foresighted to build a pressurized irrigation system in 2003, they decided that they were going to build it big enough so that the reservoir, the trunk lines, everything was big enough for when the city builds out completely. It was a wonderful decision, a very good decision. Well, that amount of piping and transmission lines and reservoir can support a city about the size, it was 90-something thousand that we thought the city would build out to, okay? Well, if this program works, if this smart controller program works, and this is why we got so much money in grant from the state and from the district, the 600,000, then our system, instead of having to supply a large peak during the day, if that peak's brought down, we could save about 35 to 40% of our system capacity. So our city that could support about 90,000 people, our system that could support about 90,000 people now could support about 130,000 people. And that is where the true cost savings will come in. This $600,000 is nothing compared to the type of infrastructures and new reservoirs and new trunk lines that would have to come when we reach the size of 90,000 people. So we're really excited about this and hope that anyone who's interested can have the opportunity to come get a smart controller. Just go to our website and sign up, and then someone will call, schedule an appointment, and we'll come out and we'll professionally install it. And it takes about a half hour to 45 minutes, and we'll be done.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate
Well, ours
that.
coming in the morning. I'm excited. Thank you.
Good.
Yours came today?
All righty. Consent items.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Second?
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
A little slow. Nice try. Okay. Public hearing, ordinance Z06-18, changing the zoning designation and amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork for the Vasa zone change.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just want to mention something before I describe this item. Really appreciate Heather. We worked for the past couple of years to try to get as many food trucks out to the events that we've had during the summer in the park, and we really struggled to get a couple to show up. So I really, really appreciate Heather taking the lead on this, and I think we've done that for 2 Fridays now, is that right? 2 or 3? And at each night, we've had at least 5, 6 trucks, something like that. Sometimes quite a few more than that. So just to make sure we're giving credit where credit's due, I think that's all Heather, and we sure appreciate it. Previously known as Fresh Market. And there may be more that went on that I'm not aware of.
I was reading. I'm sorry. I didn't know what he said.
Got it.
It's okay.
Mayor's making it hard for me to keep up. Fresh Market closed here a couple of months ago, and I think it's pretty well understood that Vasa has had plans to occupy that space for a little while. We're here tonight simply because a health club, which is what we define Vasa as, requires quite a bit of parking per our ordinance, at least the way that it reads today. We've done a little bit of research. We found that our ordinance isn't totally unique relative to what we require for health club uses. However, we found a number of cities that have requirements that are quite a bit less stringent than what we have. And in short, we're here tonight to request that the City Council approve our development enhancement overlay so that Vasa can occupy this space even though they don't meet our parking requirement for health club use, and they're a little bit deficient on landscaping as well for the site. I'll talk about some numbers in a minute, but before I get into that, and I'm going to really try to be succinct tonight, so please ask any questions that you have. I'm rather concerned at the idea that we would have this space be vacant for very long at all. 50,000 square foot vacant spaces, I think we can observe from other communities, can be rather hard to fill. In the past, this center, I think, has been pretty well occupied. There's been a certain vibrance to it, a certain health, and that really becomes jeopardized when you lose your anchor. You lose that main trip generator for a center. So I'm frankly grateful that we have this opportunity to talk with VASA about occupying that space, getting more traffic then delivered back to the site on a daily basis, and hopefully helping to make sure that the long-term viability of this as a shopping center is maintained. So certainly, as staff, we come at this with a certain bias. I want to be clear about that. We're trying to do everything we can to make sure that this works. We could have proposed, frankly, as well, that we amend our parking requirements for this use rather than to kind of take the site-specific approach with looking at this overlay on the site. I was simply concerned about trying to get this done as quickly as we could. I understand that they're very anxious about getting to work on remodeling the space, and we don't want to hold that up. So in short, and I'll talk in general numbers here, on site with some additional parking that can be added, as is described on the plan right here. On the back of the building, they're going to have 280 or so parking stalls available on the site that VASA will own, which is not all of the center. Our ordinance would require closer to 500 stalls, so 220 or so deficient. There is additional parking available here, and the applicants have a cross-access agreement with the owners of that part of the center so that customers can park and traverse freely across that property line that's there. So this parking space is available, and vice versa, this space is available for persons that might frequent other businesses on site. But all in all, then, there's over 400 spaces that are available on the site to accommodate all of the needs of the different tenants there. I'll let the applicants talk a little bit about what they think their peak parking demand is. We have looked at other gyms like this one around the valley, and frankly, there are times where they park very heavily, or meaning that there is a lot of parking consumed. Now, that being said, given that this site with this amount of parking will be noticeably greater than what they have with the current VASA site, where I think probably some of us have observed that at times parking has been tight there as well, with a facility that's rather different from the existing facility, meaning they will have a swimming pool, they will have sports courts, and different things that simply mean you physically can't serve as many people within the building at any given time. You can't put as many people as densely inside of the building as you could with their existing building, just given the nature of the different things that would be offered here. I think probably it's a very good barometer to say that because there's more parking available here than what they have at the current site, given the different nature of how this is going to operate from what they have at the current site, that I really don't believe we're going to have a parking problem. So that's kind of the bottom line from my perspective relative to parking. I appreciate the applicants working with us to utilize the space that you no longer need for some of the grocery store kinds of operations on the backside. So that could be perhaps employee parking and different things like that. There are a couple of other things that we've talked about, landscaping. For example, our Parks and Recreation folks noted that, and it shows up really, really well on an aerial photograph, the area that's right out in front of the center here that Papa Murphy's and Cafe Rio's in, they've been maintaining the landscaping on their frontage with US 6 to a certain degree, and it hasn't been cared for quite as well. Further to the east, we've talked to the applicants about maintaining that frontage differently, and they've agreed to do that. And we've also talked with the applicants about adding some additional trees, which largely would happen where I believe trees were originally planted, but they just simply haven't survived on site. So filling in a few gaps that we have along here on 800 East, placing some trees in some of the planters where, again, it looks like they originally existed but just haven't survived over time. Total of 14 trees. It's kind of a magic number that we came up with there. And with the idea that the applicants would maintain the space out here along with everything else on the site, add 14 additional trees, and complete the parking, which is going to be probably just a lot of paint, get the striping done, and things like that on the south side of the building. We recommend that the city council approve the development enhancement overlay so that VASA could operate here on this site. This is a public hearing.
Okay, if we have a question, we'll wait until we get after that.
Thanks.
Public hearing, I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone that'd like to come and talk about this project from the public, you're welcome to come on up. Wow, I guess you're the man. Want to just state your name?
Thank you, Mayor. Kevin Hawkins. We're going to be the developer for this project. We'll be acquiring the building from Associated Foods and leasing it to VASA. I actually do all their real estate in multiple states. So our ideal location is a vacant grocery store. We have 30 locations open now. Most grocery stores anywhere USA are parked out at 5 spots per 1,000 square feet. And that works for VASA. Parking's the lifeblood for their business, and they don't want to take a location that has inferior parking, has a direct correlation to their success, and they think this is better than average parking for what they have. We everybody in all 30 VASAs checks in with their little digital scan at the front desk, so they have data on all 30 locations by hour. Every gym, how many people check in, and so we looked at the peak. We met with your staff to show them, what our peak hours were, and there's more than enough parking for that and their employees. And we've enjoyed working with your staff. The Spanish Fork current VASA is a very successful one, but very cramped, and nobody's going to be happier than the members of that gym when it's bigger and has a pool and a basketball and racquetball and full service. So we'll answer any questions, and we support staff's recommendation.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to address us? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any questions or comments on this?
I have a question. With landscape, Dave, what is normal landscape? Like, is this minimal requirements? Because it is a huge area with nothing there right now.
We typically require for retail uses 15% of a site to be landscaped.
Okay.
I think on this site they're at about 12%
Okay, so
right
pretty
now.
close.
So if we were to close just a little bit further, other way. Yeah, there we go. And typically, we would count this area out here towards somebody's landscape requirement with the idea that we look to them to maintain it and so forth. So, and oftentimes they're dedicating land adjacent to roads to the city for things like sidewalks or trails or road improvements. So if we counted that, then they're at closer to 14%
Okay,
of
so
a 15% requirement. And we also require 2 trees for every 1,000 square feet of required landscape space. And if they add 14 more trees, they're off by a tree or 2.
okay.
So it's close.
So another question, if we're having them take care of their landscaping on Highway 6, can we make the next door neighbor take care of their Highway 6 land?
If they come before the city to request anything at all, then that's when we have
How
that discussion.
about we go
with
to them and request that they
we
do
can
it?
ask all day long, and I'm happy to do that. Would love to do it.
It would just
sounds
finish
like-
that up and look good.
Right? it seems like it just makes sense to go ahead and have that whole corridor maintained uniformly. We'd have a hard time, I think, maybe compelling them to do that on their own, but that's something we can talk about and see if maybe we have an opportunity there that I'm not aware of,
Okay,
other than just getting them to do it.
And I remember right there on 920 East, how that's just a dead end. Is that a possibility to add more parking if needed?
That is
Or
in
whose
the
is that?
process. Yeah, so we're in the process of turning that property over, basically, so that half of the roadway would be tied to the homeowners association for this little development here, and the other half would be tied to this parcel here with this project. A lot could happen with that. It certainly could be parking.
Okay.
But we haven't had any discussions yet about doing anything like that.
Are the existing businesses that are here, are they following you?
No.
They're staying there? Okay.
Oh,
No, the chiropractor's moving.
Across the street, next
To this to the new building? How many spots did they have before? Parking spots?
I want to say it was 171. It's been a couple of weeks since I went through that number really closely, but
roughly gaining.
it was about 6 per 1,000 that they had there.
Gaining 100.
Oh,
Proposed 281 stalls. You're getting over 100 additional
Stalls.
if your gym membership were to stay the same.
Exactly. That's right. And of course, our parking requirements based on the size of the facility. And this is maybe one of those situations where that's not the best kind of yardstick to use.
Dave, I have a question. Do we need to look at, this is the second time parking with these types of facilities has been an issue with the Athlete Development Center and parking there. And we numbers were brought up, and then I know that the council, I don't know that refutes quite the right word, but the council had a different view that you have a lot of space that, in a 4-foot square area, 3-foot square area, you're not going to have a person. This building, very much like the Athlete Development Center, you have areas where there aren't people and they simply won't be there. You've got open space, pool, racquetball court. You can have up to 4 tops. Any more than that, it's no longer racquetball.
Right, yeah.
So, is there, being that this is now a recurring theme, should we, perhaps a future agenda, look at adjusting the parking requirements for athletic centers and facilities, or is there yet a third athletic facility that does need that requirement that so far with the one talked about before and this one, I'm not seeing it. There's a lot of empty space that I think this parking will work just fine for. Thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. The mayor and I had a conversation earlier today about the idea of re-examining our parking requirements for uses like this. And I think today things are maybe a little bit different than they were when our standards were developed. I don't think you had a lot of facilities like this that were being constructed in our part of the world where you had so many different amenities within a facility like they'll offer here for their customers. So that being said, this is very different than maybe a gym was 10 or 15 years ago,
Sure.
where the space was being used much more efficiently and the demand for parking therefore was quite a bit higher. That being said, you can look at different facilities throughout the valley and see that they use quite a bit of parking still at different times for this kind of a use, but having maybe health clubs defined one way, you've got all kinds of things that are a little bit new to the world, like the CrossFit gyms and like what we have down here, which is maybe more of just like an indoor practice facility.
Right.
And having some different requirements for those things, I think does make sense.
Will any changes be made to hours of operation or anything of that nature? Still planning to operate the same way you do?
I think they'll operate the same way. When they hit a certain membership level, they'll probably go to 24 hours.
Okay.
One of their peak hours, by the way, is 5 a.m.
Brandon wouldn't know that.
You even know what a 5 a.m.
Oh,
is.
you guys, did you ever see 1:30 in the morning to make donuts?
No, we didn't.
Okay, then.
No.
Stop. So there's a possibility of being 24 hours?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
Any other questions?
Dave, who picked the colors?
Because they're perfect.
Okay.
And I did.
Okay.
Great job.
All right. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the changing in zoning designation and amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork City for VASA zone change.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilman Scobes. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Passes. Get her done. And hurry.
Thank you.
See you at the grand opening.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Enterprise fund
All
transfer.
right, let's go to C, Enterprise Funds Transfer.
I move we go into public hearing for enterprise funds transfer.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are now in a public hearing. I don't know, where do you go?
I guess I'll present in the public hearing.
I know, but you got a little ahead of us there. I know how to run these things. If you
Okay,
just let me do it, it'll be good.
No way was I.
But go ahead, I'll let you
shirking your
talk.
duties. I forgot we were supposed to talk before we do it, though.
I know, that's why I'm here.
But I was making sure we did C before. Okay. We're having two public hearings about the city budget. One part of it is, the reason why is, in 2017, the legislature passed a law that says that when we transfer funds from a utility or an enterprise fund, the water, sewer, to another fund, we need to have a special public hearing to explain to the public that we're transferring funds. And so this is fulfilling that mandate that when we transfer money a couple of different places, but there's only part of them that have to be this special hearing that we're going to do right now. So there's specific language that we have to do, specific enterprise fund info. There's a certain category, and we need to publish it in our budget, a public hearing notice, which we've done. And as far as letting the public know about it, they can come to this meeting.
Yes, I've noticed.
Heather, please get up and say something.
So I'm going to tell you what the part it is. So this is some of the data categories that we are sharing with the public about the transfer. We transfer money from enterprise funds to the general fund to cover expenses that the general fund does for those other departments, like they do engineering, we do payroll for them, we pay their bills for them. We do legal services for the utilities. So that some indirect services are what those are for. We also transfer a gift from those utility customers to the general fund to help cover services like police, fire, ambulance, library, senior center, those that are being subsidized. This is the way that subsidy gets taken care of. Okay, so this letter right here, I'm going to hand this out to each of you. So this letter right here is a letter that we send 30 days before, so it was sent out at the end of April in the 1st of May's newsletter. So it describes what the transfer is. We transfer 3.5% of the gross revenues of the enterprise funds to the general fund, and then we transfer also part of the debt service for the court and police station that we have comes from the electric fund transfer. So this letter was sent to all the ratepayers in their utility bill in April, so they have notice of that. The bottom of it tells them about this meeting and this time that we're going to talk in a public hearing about. They can come and talk if they'd like to hear more about it. Specifically, this zooms in a little bit more on what the amounts transferred from those utilities to the general fund. what percent of the expenditures they are. It's the dollar amount that we pick is a percent of the revenue that they make. Our notice has to be a percent of what of the expense it is in that department. So that's kind of why that's a different number than the 3.5%. Okay, and then the enterprise, the fund accounting stuff needs to be delivered or explained to the public about that. The other type of expense that money goes from the enterprise funds to the general fund is indirect services. And that was the part that I told you about, the services that they receive from the general fund. We charge them for those as a proportion of each one of their expenses they have. So in each one of the categories on the left, we bill out their services, administration, legal, IS, those are the departments in the general fund that we charge out. Some of their expense is covered by those utility accounts, and that's how we come up with the indirect services account. So in total, if you look over here, this number right here in this bottom corner, so there's $3.5 million that we charge out to those utility accounts based on the expenses, the budgets in those general fund accounts. Not all of the general fund departments charge out. It's just these right here that we selected as have costs that are related. Okay? So as part of this hearing, this is a page inside the budget, and I gave you in your letter, the first page is the letter that we sent. The second page is a page out of the budget that's given as far as the budget document. It details the same type of information, just in a spreadsheet format. Third page is the indirect service page that I showed you. And the last page, I'll come back to this one when we talk about the budget, but when you look at this page, this special hearing that we're having right now is to only talk about transfers that are in green and yellow. So you can see this yellow matches that yellow, this green matches this green. We're transferring money from, or funds from the enterprise funds right here up to the general fund, and that's that transfer money right there. Transfer money out of here to the debt service, that's that transfer. We also do other types of transfers for projects and stuff, and we'll talk about those a little bit more when we get into the budget side. But for this public hearing for enterprise transfers public hearing, we're just talking about the green and the yellow part. And that's all I have from that.
Thank you. All right, anyone from the two public out there would like to come and talk, you're welcome. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any questions for Kent? On this transfer. If not, you need a motion on this one? Okay. All right, now let's go to public hearing on the FY 2019 budget.
You can open it and go in and talk about it, or talk before.
You know what? Might as well just go on in, hadn't we? I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
I make a motion to go into public hearing for the 2019 budget.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Kent, talk to us.
Okay. Here is a scale that you as council have to try to balance between what resources you have of public tax money and what public services and infrastructure you want to purchase and build for the public to use. And so it's a trade-off. You can have Taj Mahals and lots of stuff, but you have to pay for it somehow. And there's probably part of the community out there that says less taxes, less services. There's part of the community that says more services, and I'll pay for it when it comes. And so as elected officials, you get to balance all of that out on deciding what is the quality of life for Spanish Fork and where do we receive the money for those types of things. So we're going to talk about where does the city get its money? We get taxes, fees, and as far as for you at home, I'm sure the council already knows this part, but where does the city spend its money? We spend it on city services, infrastructure, security, and reliability in our systems. And of course, our quality of life. Does the public have a say? Yes, they do. They can elect who sits on this board, who passes this budget, and they can also come to the public hearings like we're having tonight. The timeline that we have this year is May 1st, we presented the tentative budget. Seth presented that with his budget letter on May 1st. At that time, we established tonight was going to be the public hearing, so there's been a month that tentative budget has been available on the city's website and for them, the public, to review it. Tonight's the chance for them to give input on it, and we'll wait another 2 weeks before we adopt it in the next council meeting, so there still could be changes as far as after we receive public input. So tonight's the input part. In 2 weeks, then we'll do it. On the 15th would be the scheduled time when we would adopt the budget. However, when we go through this about the property tax rate, if you accept the certified tax rate the way that it's calculated right now, we would adopt it on the 15th, and budget would begin on July 1st on whatever gets adopted on the 15th. And that property tax rate that you set on the 15th will be established at that time. If you decide to go through truth and taxation and do something different than the certified tax rate for property tax, then it would cause a truth and taxation hearing to be scheduled for mid-August sometime. The school district is going to do the same type of thing. They've already announced that they're going to have their truth and taxation hearing, and we can't have it the same night as them. So I don't give a specific night because we need to find out when the two entities will have their public hearing at the same week, but at different times. So it'll be sometime in the middle of August. So let's get into this budget this year. Last year's budget, 18, was $93 million. That's the last revision that we have on it. And the proposed budget for 19 is $97 million. So it's an increase of about $4 million. With the budget, there's a budget letter that Seth creates and is attached to the budget for the public to read. And that document's found on our website, and so the public has an opportunity to find it there. I have a couple of hard copies here for any clamoring fans. Okay, what's in the budget? Lots of numbers. Lots of numbers are in the budget, and we hope to straighten them out so it looks like that. Okay? These are the items that are in the budget. I'm not going to go through each one of those, but the budget is complex and detailed in that it has different types of funds, rate schedules, lists of projects, salary ranges, things like that are all found inside the budget. Again, it's $97 million. That's the amount. The budget that I have tonight is exactly the same budget in dollars. The total didn't change. Projects didn't change. I only have two things to draw your attention to. And I was going to look up the page number, but there is one page in the fees. I want to give that to you. So I'm going to jump ahead, but this page right here is in the building permit department. And so we needed to update this page to show the items that are in green. And it's the plan check fees, which need to be, this page will be changed in the budget document as we go forward. But it didn't change any of the budget items throughout any of the funds or accounting-wise, just changed that one fee. There's one other page that will be changed, which I have a slide on in just a few minutes, on impact fees. Some of the impact fees got tweaked up a couple dollars, nothing major as far as what the impact fee charges are, starting for July 1st. Okay, so this is how the piece of pie cuts up for the budget for $97 million. There's $59 million in the enterprise funds, 25 in the general fund, and 12 in the miscellaneous funds. Pretty good at a 10,000-foot level. Look down at the budget, that's $97 million. So here's a little summary of the $25 million in the general fund. So if you can see how that $25 million in the general fund provides a lot of services for the city, from senior citizens to engineering, airport, police, fire, ambulance, park, cemetery, library, recreation, arts council, swimming pool, golf course, has all those in that 25 million. So the general fund provides a lot of services for this community at $25 million is what the general fund costs to operate. So I picked out one of those funds. So if you look at the one line item there, police, has $5.6 million in police. This just gives you an example of the detail that the budget can go into in the document. It tells you from salaries clear down to vehicle leases, the amounts that is in that budget for the police. And so you can see in the total it ties back to that $5.6 million for that calendar year right here. So you have FY19's in red. The one before is the budget we're in right now for 18. Here's how far we are actual so far spent this year, and this is the last year's actuals from 17. So it gives you a pretty good history as far as by which account you want to look at, whether it's fuel or supplies, where we're at and why we're budgeting those things into the future. I picked another one as parks to show you in the parks down here on projects. You can see some years in parks there's not big projects, but look, in this project this year is some big projects down at the sports park where we're budgeting to spend a couple $1 million in added infrastructure and programs down at the sports park. Again, we're into the 97 million. Here's another sliver of that pie, which shows the enterprise funds, water, electric, garbage. Those over here, we have $59 million that we split out into each one of those budgets. You can see by far electric is the largest, mainly because it costs that much to buy power, and then we turn and sell the power. So these are the miscellaneous funds, capital projects. Some of those projects are being finished up, and so from last year's budget of $9 million, we're down to almost $7 million. The main one in that one would be the golf course that's finishing up this year as far as the clubhouse part. This one right here, the special revenue, is the RDA that we have inside it, and so we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. So in the general fund, this is a summary picked out as far as those that have a revenue stream, but their revenue stream isn't enough to cover their expenditures they have. So the police department, it costs $5.6 million, but in their revenue that they collect in tickets and fees and charm is $400,000. So it's $5 million in a subsidy. And you can see a lot of the other services that the city provides that it's short. We're short $7 million in these selected ones here. And so that's some of the need for that transfer we have to cover some of these needs of the services that we have in the general fund. So this is a listing of the general fund revenues that we have. Since we have a lot of services there are some revenue streams that come in. So you can see like the golf course has a revenue stream, the pool has a revenue stream, the rodeo, all these things are revenue streams. But our big sources of revenue are property tax, sales tax, that are up in the top up here. The other big sources that we have is that dividend infusion of a gift from the enterprise funds of $1.5 million. And then we have our indirect services that we charge back out to help cover some of those costs at $3.5 million. So those are the big contributors that we have. We talked about transfers out. In a way, we need to fund some projects that are in capital projects, and we transfer those monies mostly from the general fund. And so this line item right here about capital projects, we have about $2.5 million that we're turning around and going to transfer out on certain projects that we are doing in those capital project funds. Okay. Here's a little graph of our sales tax and our property tax. You can see sales tax is pretty volatile. As long as the economy is good, sales tax is good. When the economy goes bad, sales tax is bad. And so it's a two-edged sword. It's really good when it's good, and it's really bad when it's bad. And we, trying to budgeting services and programs on a long-term basis, it's risky to plan sales tax for long term. Over time, yes, it does go. You can see where we were and where we're at. So the trend line is up, and so you can always hope that we can ride out some of the bad parts. Our property tax has always been low. We have the lowest property tax rate, and I'll talk a little bit about it in just a minute. But there is sales tax. It's climbing. There are some agreements that we have that when we get to the RDA budget, we have to transfer some of that sales tax to the developer for a couple of years. And so it isn't money that we can use in our programs yet until we pay off that requirement. But there is a benefit. There are stores out there, and the incentive programs seem to work when we finally were able to start to see those stores show up. Here's a little scenario of property tax rates for Spanish Fork. The number I want to draw your attention to first is this average value of a market house in Spanish Fork. Last year it was $240. It's gone up to around $260. And so that's good for everybody that wants to maybe sell a house. Not so good if people want to buy a house. There is an exemption of a 45%, so you're really only paying tax on 55% of whatever that market value they say your house is. And I use that as a quote of what they say your house is. The assessor decides what your market value is. You might could sell your house for more than that, or it could be less than that. But. So in the sliver of property tax, we are just one of the slivers of this property tax. So on this average house of $260, the property tax bill that that person would pay would be around $1,600. The school district would get $1,300, and the city would only get $126. So you can see what's happened in these growth things if the property tax of these are last year's property taxes, and this is what our new one is. If you can remember what last year's rate was? 955. It was close. But what I'm getting to the point and drawing the attention to is that it went down again. So our certified tax rate went down again. So when you look at the piece of pie that our residents pay in property tax in Spanish Fork City, it's a small, small sliver compared to the other players that are taxing their house. And that $126 is what we use to provide all those services that we have in the general fund. And so, in my opinion, it's not keeping up with the cost of inflation of all those services that we have. So I'd like to present some ideas that you can have as far as covering those shortages in the general fund, okay? So as we compare our rates with others in the county, you can see they're still setting their rates right now just like we are. And so I've left those as being what they were. So they might tweak down just a little bit. They might not. If they have increases in their voted bonds that they might have done last year, then theirs would be going up also. Or they might hold the rates in their own communities, and it might change a little bit. But I put our new one in right here. So last year, our rate was this 955, and now it's going to 887. So it's a decrease of about 7%. Our property values went from 1.9 billion in values to 2.1. So as everybody's values all increased in town, we still only get that $126 off of that house. So it forces that rate to go down because we only get the same dollar amount that we got the prior year. So if the denominator in the equation goes bigger and the numerator stays the same, the fraction goes smaller. Right, math teacher?
Yep.
Higher math. So we have talked several years about the term called holding the rate or maintaining the certified rate. So right now, our certified rate last year, or the year before, was 10.3, and last year it dropped to 955. This year it drops again to 887. If we use this year's value at last year's rate, so we're taking this year's value At last year's rate, this is the property tax that we could collect if we maintain the rate or hold the rate. If we follow the math equation to drop the rate because we don't get any more money than we got last year, yet the values all changed, that's the amount that we would get this year is 1.9 million. So the bottom line is if we hold the rate to whatever last year's was, our property tax revenue would increase by $148,000 would be what maintaining the rate. So if we maintain our rate at the 955 right here, we're still the bottom of the list of all other cities that are even in Utah County. So other cities are maintaining their rates or raising their rates. Spanish Fork City is not, and it's falling as far as an opportunity for this sales tax trend to start to cover, narrowing the gap, I guess, between these two, or an opportunity for a subsidy from the other funds to be less, so it can hold its own, service its own. Okay, so if you choose to hold the rate, and you don't have to hold the same rate, you can pick any rate. It could be 9 instead of 955. It could be any of those other.
Higher.
You could go higher.
Did you go what our rate was 2 years ago?
You could. You could pick whatever rate you wanted, but I'm just going to let you know it's not an increase voted at the populace as a vote in the voting booth. To raise the rate through truth and taxation, it's a vote of the council right here. You have another public hearing, which would be in August, and at that point, the public would come in and say, we support this, or we disagree with it, and then you guys would have a vote, and if the majority vote, I want to maintain the rate, I want to raise the rate to whatever it is. If you want to raise it to match Payson, then it would generate even more money in the property tax side of it. But right now, if you maintain the rate at last year's rate, that's how much more property tax revenue you would bring into. So you'd go to from 1.9 at the end of the year to a 2.08. Is that clear? Try to be as clear as I can on that. So in this process for the next 2 weeks, adopting this budget, if you decide we're going to not maintain the rate, we're going to let it fall, then you would pass the budget in 2 weeks. There would be no other discussion about the budget until the next revision. If you said, okay, I want to maintain the rate or some portion of it or higher of it, then I would give notice to the county, we want to do a truth and taxation hearing to change the rate, something different than the certified rate, a higher rate. And then we would schedule with them a public hearing in August, so it's not the same time the school districts is, and have that public hearing that night. Then you would adopt the certified tax rate, and at that point, then adopt a new budget, the new FY19 budget with that new property tax rate. If you don't, and you adopt it next week or 2 weeks from now, then the tentative budget that we're talking right now, that's the budget that will start in July. If you do the truth and taxation hearing in August, we will follow the tentative budget as approved May 1st as the tentative budget up until that August meeting of a public hearing. If you get to that August meeting and say, we're not going to raise the property tax rate, then it would just fall back to that tentative budget that you had before and that rate that was inside that. Okay? Does that make clear?
Sure it does.
Okay. So let me show you the impact of what this increase is. So that's for the whole city as far as a total that would come from all the city, the businesses, and everybody. So if I take an average house of 260 and do the discount, that impact of what that rate difference is right there has an annual impact of $9.72 on that average home. If your home's more than that, then it'll have to be higher. If it's less, it'll have less impact. But a monthly impact of 81 cents is what the impact that would be per month to a resident that has that average home. So it's less than $1 impact if you maintain the rate at last year's rate per month. Okay? So this is just telling you that story of, as far as another public hearing that would be in August, and we'd operate under the tentative budget until that August hearing. Oh, this one or one more?
And also, in this budget, we have taken this dollar amount and would plan to put that in the capital projects fund for the fire station.
Right.
So this is not going into the general operations of the budget, but in this next fiscal year, if you hold the rate, this is the amount we would put into the fire station capital project fund that we would use to eventually build the station in 1 or 2 fiscal years. And we would take this money this year, FY19, we take the money the next year as well, and put that in there, and after we build the fire station, we would use this increment of the property tax to use for the public safety, fire, ambulance changes that we do see coming with the growth that's in the community.
That's right. That's the part I forgot. One thing, but that's good. That's a good point. It is a revenue stream that is earmarked in the tentative budget. If you don't, then that transfer will be adjusted out. Okay. And it is to a capital projects fund to first will be used to purchase and build the building, and then it'll be used to fund the building, the operations. Okay. The budget also has some rate changes in base and usage rates. Base rate is what would be charged even if they had no usage. They would pay a base rate, and then the usage would be on top of that. So some of the electric, sewer, and storm drain have slight adjustments in them to maintain their revenue stream that they need in their funds. If there's any question on those. Some highlights of the budget is there's some personnel that's listed out in the letter that Seth wrote. This is just a summary of where those 9 new employee full-time positions are. There's also added hours in part-time in different areas as far as the number of hours that are being used in part-time. Okay. These are some big projects that are in the budget. I didn't put dollar amounts on them, but I'll give you something to go look for. The sports park has 2 baseball parks and 16 pickleball courts. A new road at the cemetery. Phase 2 of the fairgrounds. Some parks down at the tennis court. Swenson's bleacher shade covers for the bleachers, and there are also each year the regular improvements in water, sewer, PI, those types of maintenance issues and capital projects they have in each one of those. Again, this is a start of the planning for future projects. That fire station up on the Canyon Road is starting to be funded through these budgets, and also funding as far as for a new library, as far as the council's recommending that that's one of their top priorities. And so we're looking at starting that funding process on trying to develop time and place for a new library. I won't talk about this, and this is that same dividend page that's in the budget. We had to have that whole hearing about this page, so I won't go into what that page is about. Here's that transfer page, but I want to draw attention to the other colors as far as it's transferring to the capital projects that we have going on. So you can see land acquisitions here. We have $1.5 million there. The airport has a project. The fire station there's the 145. That's the property. If you decide to hold the rate, that expense is there, and revenue stream that's where it's going to go. If you decide not to do it, then that number will go away. Okay, and then the other ones are the RDA one right here is the sales tax of those new businesses in the new area out there by Walmart that we have to give back to the developer. So it's transferred to the RDA, and through that RDA, they get a percentage of what they deliver. It's not a dollar amount like that, but according to their budget, that's what they said that they estimated they would get. But they only get whatever they really do generate out in that area. So, any question on any of those?
Just so on Center Street, when they finish that and pay us back for that, that just goes back, right? We're back into the general fund, the money we took out of that, right?
Right. And a good source for that one is right here, well, right there. So we'll reuse that to another asset. So we are fronting a couple $1 million to buy all those houses, and when we get reimbursed for those, I've heard discussion, maybe I better speak too soon. But that's the plan of attack for that fire station is it's a $6 million project. I mean, $2 million helps a whole lot, and then holding the property tax rate helps also. It's still not enough, so we'll have to cross that bridge when the architect gives us a price what that's going to be.
What's the Parkway / Canyon Creek?
Oh, I don't know what that M is. Should be Spanish Fork Parkway.
Is that what I'm thinking?
That's an old number.
Okay.
It's an old name. I'm glad you read that. If I had a candy bar, you'd have it.
Me or Heather.
Any other questions as far as strawberry shortcake afterwards?
Deal.
So that's the movement of some of the transfers that the city does in order to do projects in different funds that don't have enough revenue stream for themselves. That took that's my pet peeve is decimals don't line up. It's just like
It's all on you.
No, it's in my office, in my computer, that format's straight. I can't look at that screen.
You could just go right over that. You don't even want to see that.
It's not like that on my
You see how those accountants are.
Now that tells me I got to bring it in here and look at it before I look at it. Anyway, this is the impact fees as far as the old ones and the new ones. And the new ones are in your budget, but they've been tweaked up a little bit right here because some projects had different amounts. And so when we calculate them each year, it tweaked a couple dollars on each one. And so we want to make sure we get the right one and to let you know that these are the correct ones on there, and they're a couple dollars difference in, if you happen to look in the document back in the fees tab of what that is. So we'll put these numbers in as being the corrected ones in the final version. Here's your fee waiver and donation list. If there's no need for some, let me know. I'll zap them off and make them come back and ask again at a future time. Or if there's something, there's an item that you want to discuss as a council, whether to put another item on. This would be the time to do that in your public hearing after this public hearing, because this is the only time we put in our policy in the state statute is that we have this budget hearing that talk about this. And so as they go out throughout the year, somebody comes and says, I want on, you can only put them on there if you have a public hearing. So
I've got some research to find out.
okay, so in the next 2 weeks, let me know if this page needs to change as far as what a donation would be. Okay, so in the end, it's still 97 million after all that.
Under 100.
And there's the picture of the pie, and that's all I have.
Great, we are in a public hearing at this time, so anyone from the public would like to say anything, you're welcome to. If not, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Argal and second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any other questions, comments, discussions?
Just the one thing I didn't see up there on the fee waiver, and maybe Dale hasn't got it to you yet, but we discussed the Tabitha's Way backpack giveaway down at the tennis courts. We need, all over Utah County, like 3,700 backpacks or something, pretty amazing thing, and have used our tennis courts, indoor tennis courts for that. Okay.
One other one. There's a group that put some quilts up at the rodeo, and we don't really have a space in our fee schedule for. Can't remember what if it's the daughters. It's not the daughters of the pioneers.
It's the VFW.
VFW. That's right. It was the wives of VFW that did that.
Women.
Yeah. And we only have vendor spaces for food booths there. And so we wondered how to best approach that. And it might be simplest to say they can have a fee waiver of a vendor booth, although I don't know, like I said, it isn't really the right approach, but it's the best I think we can do to make it the cleanest. So I would propose adding that to the fee waiver list as well. And we'll maybe just treat it like as if it were a food vendor, although they're not. They're asking for donations for quilts. They do some beautiful work.
Yes, they do. Okay. Questions, comments? I would love to talk about holding the rate or even going a little higher on that. Can you put that back up? Yeah. I mean, where it compares with the other cities. Oop. Right there.
Oh, those are last year's, because they're still setting theirs. Ours is.
Yeah, you can see ours down there, 9.5. Minimum, I think we should at least hold the rate, if maybe even increasing that a little bit. I don't know what the rest of the council feels about that.
It's your number there of 148 is at the 887 number, not the 955 number.
No, that's the
955.
955.
That would be.
That's the 955 number.
If you maintain the rate at 955,
Okay.
that's what it would generate.
Okay, all right.
That's the new money addition.
Gotcha.
Last year we did not maintain, but was it 3 years ago we maintained? Or 4 years ago?
Did you maintain it?
I was on the council,
We've only done it once.
and we've only done it once.
It was about 4 or 5 years ago.
We
Okay.
did it once 20 years ago.
Wow.
Prior to just
Did we do
2013 or 14, right?
I think I've been on.
Okay.
Check
Okay.
that and see.
So we've been through that process. Kier, myself, I don't know if Mike was here. I know
think I
Stacy and
I think
Chad
it
was
right
not.
before me.
But I agree with the mayor. It's important to keep what's stable as stable. The factor for me is what we're about to discuss and have the public vote on with the sales tax as well. So it kind of helps me, you know, like you say, where is the number? I'm in accordance with holding the rate, but I don't know if I go higher than that personally.
This is something we can do every year, right? Which, you know, so I'd say at the minimum, we hold the rate this year and go through that, if, that's my 2 cents on it.
The alternative is to when you get to, which we've seen other communities do, is when you get to the time where you have, okay, now we need this fire station up here with acquired ground, and we need a fire station, and you go through a
big increase.
big tax increase to say, okay, this is how much it's going to cost, this is how much your property taxes are going to go up. But I'm with the mayor. I think that's what people elect us for, is to look at the budget year to year like this and see if you can make it work to save incrementally, to chew, eat bites of the elephant, not the whole elephant.
And that's really the wisdom, I think, that as we've talked about it with you as council, if we can take these little chunks, I mean, I really appreciate, Kent, you got these numbers today, right? I mean, we typically get the numbers from the county right now. So we were guessing when we put the tentative budget together a month and a half ago what that number was, and we put in $145,000. So not bad in guessing what we felt things would go. So hats off to Kent for
I had a candy bar.
Kent really know whatever. That's not. Oh, I shouldn't. Okay. Kent really knows what he's doing, and I appreciate that. And he spent some time last night, and the numbers that he got from the county were really, really weird. And called the county this morning, and they said, yeah, we messed up, so we're updating that. So he didn't get these numbers until even later, maybe mid-morning. But the council's wisdom right now is to take these little chunks at a time, 81 cents a month to the average home, $9 the annual. And if we need to do it again next year, it'll probably be a similar amount. And that increment then becomes, what is that, about $300,000 that you can use for the ongoing operation of the fire station, which isn't just the employees, but there will be some added cost for employees. But we also have to put vehicles in it. We'll need We'll need one more fire truck probably, and potentially another ambulance. And there's a cost to that. And there's an ongoing cost to maintain that vehicle. And frankly, fire trucks are not cheap. But then you have to maintain the building as well. So there's always these ongoing costs. And one of the things that we are leery about is putting an ongoing cost associated with a very, very elastic sales tax. And as sales tax grows, which it obviously is doing, there's room in there. But if the economy turns and we have to cut services, if we increase the level of service with public safety and the economy turns, I don't expect us to say, okay, well, the economy's turned, we're going to decrease the level of public safety. That's not something we'll look at decreasing. We might have to decrease the level of other services that we provide. And so connecting the property tax rate to that new level of service that we will get with the second fire station and the eventual changes that we know are coming, we feel like that's the most prudent thing we can do. And we're not really advocating that we go higher than hold the rate, because that gives us enough to start this year and save. And then if we wanted to hold the rate again next year, we can talk about that next year. But taking this one small bite at a time from the staff's point of view is really a smart move. It's a manageable step and something that, as you see by the numbers, the average household will increase 81 cents a month. But I think if the majority of the residents might say, if I know that I'm going to get this added level of ambulance and fire protection for 81 cents a month, let's go down that road. I think it's a wise investment for the service levels to the community.
Any other questions, comments? Is this something we need to vote on, Ken?
I was just going to say. So yeah, you're not voting tonight to hold the rate.
Okay.
But the direction we receive will be: do we put it on the budget? Do we put the budget on the agenda for next council meeting to approve, or do we put it into the truth and taxation process for August, and then we would approve it finally in August?
I'm for truth and taxation.
Chad?
Hold the rate.
I agree, hold the rate.
I agree.
Okay, you got your direction. All that for that?
So that gives you 2 months to, frankly, to chat with your neighbors and friends and get that feedback, because we'll have that public hearing in 2 months. And hopefully between then and now you get good feedback from people that help you know what the right course for you to go.
Okay, all right, let's move on to new business. I would like to move to number D. We've got, I'm sure, Mr. Rindlisbacher, that's what you're here for. So you don't have to sit through all this nice boring stuff. Let's go ahead to that. Resolution 18-07, intent to adjust a common boundary with Springville City.
You pull the map up, Scott. So pull into Highway 51 on the north edge of the city, if you would. So out on Highway 51 at the north end of our city, we have a project proceeding that's being done by Scenic Development right here. They've picked up some property on this side of the highway that they have project proposed as well. They wanted to pick up this piece right here and make it part of their project. This part of the piece is unincorporated, but for whatever reason, that little triangle, that piece was in Springville City. So we sent Scenic Development, Lynn's company, to Springville, and Springville says we don't have any objection to that. And as we worked with them, they asked us to annex this first. So we have completed that annexation a couple of weeks ago. And now this is the first step in doing a boundary adjustment with Springville to bring this little triangle piece into our city. And so we're still working on a legal description, but we're gonna pick up right here. We'll pick this up, and we're gonna pick the street up. And this parcel is in our city, so we're gonna pick up so we don't leave, a little portion of a state highway, unincorporated, leaving an island out there. And so that's what we will do. We'll have that legal description tomorrow. So I've indicated this is the first step. If you approve this resolution tonight, then we need to notice once a week for 3 consecutive weeks a public hearing, then hold a public hearing on doing the actual transfer, and that will conclude it. So much simpler process than doing a full annexation, but we see the similarities where we have to hold a public hearing, we have to notice once a week for 3 weeks. So that's what we're proposing to do, and then this entire parcel will be incorporated into a project that will be right here.
Right. Any questions? If
Makes
not,
sense.
I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 18-7, intent to adjust a common boundary with Springville City.
Second.
And a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Scopes. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Argyle.
Aye.
Councilman Scopes.
Aye.
That passes. Thanks for bearing with us. All right, where do you want me to go while you're up here?
Oh, good.
Go to Salem.
You do Salem while you're up there.
Okay, do E.
Okay, E, we're going to go E, Resolution 18-08, intent to adjust the common boundary with Salem City. Holy cow, we're taking over the world.
Well, we're giving up some here.
Oh, darn the luck.
You know, it's interesting. A boundary adjustment with the neighboring city has been in the code for years and years and years. I've been here almost 30 years in this position. Only once before in that 30 years have we done it. We have 2 on tonight.
Wow.
We also have another one coming. Push it out a little bit. Oh, okay. No, this is good. So this parcel right here is south of Arrowhead Trail and is in our city limits currently. The reason it is back when we were doing some annexations over here, the person who owned this wanted to bring it into our city, so we did. Since then, the ownership has changed, and there's a home right here that's being rented. The well on that home is basically sucking sand, and they need some water service. They also would like to get some sewer service, and that's just not available in our city. But since the Revere Health building went in right down here in Salem, Salem has utilities that basically are right here surrounding the property, and it's currently owned by Mayor Christensen in Salem. I understand he's spoken to Mayor Leifson about that, and so we've brought it seeking to take this property here and do a boundary adjustment and send it to Salem. It makes sense from a boundary standpoint in the sense we've got a major state highway that then becomes the boundary instead of us having a triangle on one side. But really the main reason is so that they can get immediate services of water and sewer. So this is the same process. If we approve it, we'll need to notice once a week for 3 consecutive weeks for a public hearing, then hold a public hearing to do that boundary line adjustment. Questions?
Any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we approve Resolution 18-08, intent to adjust common boundary with Salem City.
Second?
Got a motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilmember Beck. This also will be a roll call vote. Councilwoman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Argyle.
Aye.
Councilmember Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
That passes. All right. Should we go back? Let's see. Where do you want us to go now? You want to go back to A?
This is like
All
Chris
right.
Thompson's sprinkler system. It goes where it wants.
Well, if I had the app, I'd be all right. Okay, ratification of a broker-buyer agreement for the purchase of 65 acres of property in the river bottoms.
So this is something we are excited to talk about. This is a major accomplishment for the residents of our community. What I'm on the agenda tonight is the ratification of 2 contracts that the city entered in during the last 2 weeks. It's a ratification because through conversations with the council, we've had a lot of activity and we've made some decisions, but tonight we have to bring those decisions to light and approve in this public meeting. So let's talk about it. We entered into a real estate purchase contract to purchase some acreage in the river bottoms. About 2 weeks ago, residents that might have been driving on a road known as Poplar Lane or Tree Line Road may have noticed a for sale sign that went up right here in the corner of the alfalfa field there at the intersection of River Bottoms Road and Poplar Lane, Tree Line Road or 1100 East. On the other side, there was a similar for sale sign quietly placed there on the south side of the property. From the air, the ground looks like this. It runs from the River Bottoms Road on the north, along Poplar Lane to the west, the river on the south, and there's a field delineation right here, ditches and some power poles actually that border the property on the east. All told, there are 65 acres of farm ground that were up for sale. And we knew that this was coming, and as soon as it became available, we started talking. Through the purchase process, the city offered, and this contract that you're approving tonight is for $3,055,000, $3,055,250 total between the real estate purchase contract and the buyer-broker agreement. About 65 acres. We have already closed on the property, again, which is unique and why this is a ratification. This moved very quickly. And one of the benefits for the city to be able to move quickly, we were able to purchase this. So we've already even closed on the property a week ago tomorrow, and there was a real estate commission as described in the broker-buyer agreement. People that frequent the area will know that the side of the road near the trail intersection with Poplar Lane is often the home of many cars as people like to park here and enter the trail and either head east or west at this location. It becomes a little bit dangerous. You can see here two trail users. They're right in the middle of the road as they've exited the trail and are walking back to their cars. And we have had a desire for the last 3 years to be able to locate a parking lot at this location, and have been unsuccessful in acquiring land for a parking lot from either property owner to the east or west of Poplar Lane until today. And in fact, about a year ago, we had the possibility of acquiring the land on the west side of this road, and we were not successful there. So we have now land that we've acquired, the 65 acres, and we hope and plan to put a parking lot right here on the southern portion of the property. And because it runs all along Poplar Lane, instead of having people run, bike, jog, or walk on Poplar Lane, as it's a narrow country road, we also can place the trail along that same location. So anybody that goes on this trail from maybe up above the bench, they can safely go along Poplar Lane on the trail now instead of in the roadway. Other than those changes, right now we don't have any contemplations to use the property. It's not in the city's limits. Utilities are a long ways away. Eventually we see a beautiful park possibility here in a number of different ways, but today, short of using some of the ground for a trail and some of the ground for a parking lot, we anticipate using the ground as it has been used, and that is simply to grow, I think I see corn on there, alfalfa, and maybe some grain. And we'll continue to use that the way it is.
We'll lease that out?
Yeah. We actually own some properties in the river bottoms and a few other places around town where we contemplate using for future parks and other things, but it's just too soon. And so we farm those, rather we lease those out to some farmers, and we can continue. We were able to acquire all of the water as well, and that water will stay on the land and can be used to farm.
So we did get all of the water?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We're still getting all of those issues worked out as they have to dot all of their I's and cross all of their T's, but there is sufficient water on here to farm, which is fantastic. Yeah, very important, because I mean, if we bought the ground and there wasn't sufficient water to farm, then for the next 5 or 10 years, frankly, it'd be a burden to the city, because we need to move water down there to keep farming or figure something out. So it's good that it has that water. We also plan to put a bathroom in that location, and we'll work through that with the county.
Just like that one?
Well, we'll probably put a double stall.
Okay.
Double wide.
Double stall, right? There's no sewer there, so whatever we do it'll be temporary. Maybe it'll be some kind of a septic or a holding tank. We'll figure that out as we work through that with the county. But it's a good way station as people are journeying from the sports park to the Canyon View Park and the golf course area. And hopefully everybody that's watching this knows that we've already started the process to construct from the Dripping Rock Trail all the way up to the reservoir. So some people might need to use the facilities there as they're getting ready to go, on up the trail. So this is a look at what we had hoped to do for the parking lot. This layout's actually on the west side, so you can kind of flip it around and use it on the east side. But since last week, we're working with our landscape and engineering firms to redesign it. But something like this is what we would propose to build that would get people off of Poplar Lane and give trail access from the parking lot, making it a little bit safer for people to recreate. And if I can go back briefly, we have struggled for the last few years. We actually put up some no parking signs. The county put up some no parking signs here and probably back to about there. But because they're right in the drive space, they get run over. Every time we put them up, they get run over and they get knocked down. And the reason we put those up 150 feet away from the trail is because having cars parked here and here decreases the sight line as people are coming to the trail intersection with the road. And it's difficult for cars to see walkers or bikers or joggers, and it's difficult for those trail users to see cars. So we'll work with the county to put up no parking signs there once that parking lot's available and make it so that it's a little bit safer for everybody.
We have as much parking as Vasa.
What about the landscaping?
Thanks,
How many
Chad.
trees are you going to put there?
Great question.
You might
Thank
wanna
you.
start thinking that through.
Absolutely. No, we absolutely want to keep thinking that through. If you drive Poplar Lane, let me go back to one of these pictures. Wrong way. As you can see, this picture was taken this morning. That tree is not pretty, right? All of these trees in this space died. You can see this tree down there is dead as well, and so on. It goes down the road. But having a beautifully lined tree-lined road is, one of the reasons why everybody loves that road. And so it's very, very likely, and we'll know more as we get some of the plans finalized, but we may need to take out all of those trees. So Poplar Lane,
Coming from the guy that stacks his M&Ms, color 197 trees.
is that what you want to have planted there?
That's what was there.
Oh.
Can we replant
Oh,
poplar
you're
trees?
saying that years ago there was 197 trees? Okay, thank you. Can we replant? Absolutely.
Poplar trees.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The
I love that.
The weakness to a poplar tree is that if it doesn't have water, it'll die. I mean, everything's that way, right? But poplar trees they have a very intense need for water. So these trees died several years ago with our last drought, or a lot of them died again. So we can plant more poplar trees, or we can. I think I lost them.
Yeah,
Seth, I'm with you, and I really like the poplar tree idea. Or we'll have to rename the road, which would be a pain.
Yeah.
But
So if we planted honey locust, then it'd be like honey locust
Yeah.
lane.
And maybe we could stick more like 175 trees instead of 196.
Or
Save
maybe
a
we go
little money.
200.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
something like
the
that.
thing with poplar trees,
They grow
fast grow,
really
die
fast as
fast.
well.
Yeah.
They die.
So
But
that's
they're a
something that I
beautiful
think
tree.
is important to understand. And if we do have to take out the trees, and like I said, we'll figure that out shortly. We'll put out information, and we'll make sure the public knows that we're, the big bad city's not just tearing them down and putting up high-rise apartments. No, we're
Right.
tearing them down and putting something better so that it looks good, and then along with the trail. So.
So we just need to
So-
have a vote to ratify.
So there are 2 items on the agenda that need to have the ratification. And that's what you get to do now.
So,
Any other questions or anything you want to talk about with this?
so we do A first?
Do whatever you want.
There's a
Okay.
lot I want to talk about. But
All right, any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion on A, ratifying of the broker-buyer agreement for the purchase of 65 acres of property in the river bottoms.
so moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. B, ratification of the real estate purchase contract for the 65 acres of property in the river bottoms.
So moved?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Argal, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Seth, we will move quickly on the parking lot, right? I mean, you already said we're going forward with that. Not, but, is it the county we're gonna have to work a little bit with there?
So we have grant funds today for the parking lot. And we have grant funds today for that section of trail all along the east side of Poplar Lane.
Oh, okay.
But we had started the process to mothball that because we didn't have the land and the ability to do those. So we do have the funds. I'm not sure in today's climate if we'll have all of the money that we need because prices continue to go up. But our plan is to be able to have something to present to you in the next couple of weeks, next couple of council meetings, to where we can decide whether or not we can do that with the grant monies that are available, as well as if anything, maybe additional from the city. But I think everybody's on the same page that if we can get that parking lot sooner than later, it needs it because of the issues with people parking there on the road. So our plan right now is to get you something in the next couple of council meetings.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to C, Resolution 18-06, designating the city finance director and city treasurer as authorized users to access and/or transact with public treasury investment funds.
So when we have excess funds, rather than just sit them around in a bank account that's earning 0.5% or 1% of interest, the state has created what they call the Public Treasurer's Investment Fund, and that's where you can put your money into this state fund, and then they invest it for you. And it's very conservative. There's little risk of loss, but you earn a higher interest rate than if you're just in your own bank account. And we received a request in the last couple of weeks from the state treasurer asking us to adopt a resolution that specifically identifies the two individuals who can access that on our behalf and take care of transactions on our behalf. So we've designated our public finance director and our city treasurer. I shouldn't say our city finance director and our city treasurer as those individuals. The state also wants their signature. So on the resolution, you notice that not only are we appointing them, but we have a spot for their signature. So this is for us to continue to use that PTIF.
Any questions? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 18-6, designating the city finance director and city treasurer as authorized users to access and/or transact with public treasurer investment funds.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Scobes. Roll call vote. Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Argyle.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Okay, that goes. F, Resolution 18-09, amending the Spanish Fork City Employee Personnel Policy regarding sick leave. Tyler, we don't have any of our people get sick, do we? We're healthy.
Tyler, it's good to see you tonight.
This is Fit City. So this is a very simple change. A little while back, somehow this language was left out of the personnel policy manual, and so we're just putting it back in. That's really the extent of it. And then we changed a couple of section numbers, and so we had to change those sections of the policy.
Nothing changes with the buyback of sick days or anything like that. It's all the same.
It's all the same. Any
I make-
question?
Then I make a motion, unless anybody has any questions,
Nope, make it.
that we approve Resolution 18-09, a resolution amending the Spanish Fork City Employee Personnel Policy, making various changes to remain compliant with law, to clarify provisions, and make it more efficient.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argyle. This is also a roll call vote. And let me get it up here. Councilman Argyle.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we hadn't passed it, would you still been standing there? I don't know, I just giving you a hard time. All right, G, tabled from May 15th to 18th, a meeting, resolution 18-5.
All right. This is the wrap tax. We'd let Dale do it, but he's not here. Hopefully Dale's watching on YouTube.
Hi, Dale.
Okay. We've been talking about the wrap tax and the possibility of putting the wrap tax on the ballot in November of 2018. We have a resolution on the agenda tonight that authorizes authorizes that to be put on the ballot and communicates to the Lieutenant Governor the intent to have that on the ballot, wherein his office will then give us a number, and the language needs to be given for them to review and approve. Obviously, if there's something they don't agree with in the language, they would give us that feedback, and we could change our ballot language after that. In our last meeting, we talked about a bunch of different possibilities. We had some different examples, and we've kind of collated and coalesced what we have found. I have a couple of remaining questions, but I think we've got just about everything. Do we want to have it be the park tax, park with a C tax, or RAP tax, R-A-P? And then we've listed that the funding may be used to support municipal or non-profit organizations providing programs such as, but not limited to, and we've listed there things that came from our discussion last council meeting. Funding may also be used for capital improvement of publicly owned or operated amenities such as, and a list of things there. And then at the end of the ballot, two choices, and staff would recommend that we say for the RAP tax or against the RAP tax. You could say yes, and we'd add yes in favor of the RAP tax and no in favor of the RAP tax, rather than just simply yes or no. Would you type that in there for me? Yes, in favor of the RAP tax. So that's the language that we have at this moment. And again, the whole agenda item is to discuss the resolution authorizing putting this on the ballot, which would then we would communicate with the Lieutenant Governor's office. So we can answer any questions you have, talk about anything you want.
I like yes or no. There's my input. Cure.
I like the for and against because all the other ballots have for and against. So I don't know if that's going to be something different that somebody's going to see a yes or no, but looking at the other ballots. And Mike said something, I like the park tax, that was the recommendation, but it is familiar to say RAP because people know what that is. So if that means it on the ballot, it can be RAP, and then we change it to park after we adopt it into the city and use it as that.
So RAP, is that what you said, Chad?
RAP on the ballot.
Yep.
I think you just have for the RAP or against the RAP. I don't think you need to put any more on that. Make it simple.
You're saying take away the word tax?
No.
Just say,
Well,
just say for or against.
For it
You
or
already
against
said
it.
it up at top.
Yeah. Don't have to keep repeating it.
Okay, we can do that.
Do we get a discount if we cut words out?
It's not the day.
It makes me think of the movie Three Amigos. Okay, I give you the 10 peso version.
Exactly what I'm asking.
There you go.
That's for all my.
And I like the RAP tax because I think everybody knows what a RAP tax is. You know, that's very familiar with people.
You know, I think as we've done research with other cities, a lot of them have started by calling it the RAP tax because that's the language in the state code. And then if they want to put it back on, if they want to re-up the RAP tax 10 years later, a lot of times they change the name to whatever they've created with that. So you could, at that point, or shortly after, change it and then kind of rebrand it to what Spanish Fork City ends up calling it. So I think that's totally appropriate.
The highlighting of said tax to be levied for 10 years. we're required to put that somewhere on the ballot, right? No?
We're not.
But the law is it
The law is
retires
that.
in 10 years anyway.
Yeah, so we have suggested to put it on there. I think it's good to say, but it doesn't have to be there. We could take that off. But that is the case. It sunsets after 10 years.
And it's good for people to know it's not a permanent.
I like that they know that too, yeah.
So we'll remove the yellow there. We'll remove the yellow there. And am I hearing you say you'd like to see it just simply say for and against and strip off the wrap tax on both of those lines? I like that. The ad hoc committee that we used said anytime we talk about this, we should also put the 1 penny for every $10 because to a lot of people, the 0.1%, it just doesn't, makes it a little bit, it's just hard to understand. So to putting that 1 penny for every $10, they said that was the clearest way to communicate. All right.
Isn't it .01? Have I got that wrong? 0.01.
Nope. No, it's 0.1.
0.1.
And it'll take our sales tax from 6.75 to 6.85. All right.
Motion.
And then, Scott, will you strip off the wrap tax and the wrap tax as well? Just for and against.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. For or against. That's what you see on most ballots.
For and against.
I think you're almost there.
Well, what
I
are we
think
not
you
there?
are there.
Okay. We don't
You
have to
are
come
there.
back, right?
You are there.
All right.
Is everybody okay with this?
Yes?
Okay, before I call for a vote?
I'm for it.
Well, I'm not called for it yet.
So do I sit down there?
All right. I'd entertain a motion on resolution 18-5.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 18-5, placing an opinion question on the November 6th, 2018 Utah County General Election ballot as to whether or not Spanish Fork City should impose a local sales and use tax of 0.1% to fund botanical, cultural, recreational, and zoological organizations or facilities in Spanish Fork City, and approving the ballot title and propositions.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Beck. Roll call vote. Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Argyle.
Aye.
Okay, get her on. H, Canyon Creek Connector Agreement.
Okay, this is to be reimbursed for pioneering some roads up in the Canyon Creek Shopping Center area. The first road that was pioneered was Spanish Fork Parkway, which comes from the shopping area over there all the way to Highway 51. The intent is eventually for this road to loop around Spanish Fork City and be a major collector arterial road for getting traffic to the hospital and to our commercial area there. And then the other one, if you could go to the next map. The other one is for pioneering the road that is called Canyon Creek Parkway, which extends all the way up to 2700 North or Springville 1600 South, where eventually we hope to have an interchange, hopefully in the next 4 or 5 years, actually. There are some utilities in this road as well that they are asking for reimbursement for as land adjacent to it develops.
Any questions? If none, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the Canyon Creek Connector Agreement.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Argyle, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Airport, 2018 Airport Asphalt Preservation Project.
Okay, this project is funded mostly by grants. I believe there's about $500,000 funded by state and FAA grants, and then about $27,000 is, if you scroll up a little bit, I think $27,000 is our match, so that's a pretty good deal. If you scroll back down, one of the things that we really have stressed in Spanish Fork is taking care of our roads. If you maintain them, the return on your money is between $6 and $10 on every dollar you spend. So, Mike, you are a banker. If you could invest some money in an account that would give you 600 to 1,000% return over 20 years, or actually 10 to 20 years, you probably invest quite a bit of money in that, and that's what we're doing here at the airport. A nice thing that the airport is now benefiting from by being wholly in Spanish Fork is our streets department is really good at pavement maintenance and basically really good at investing this pavement maintenance dollars. And so we have combined with our streets, and we have a crack seal project out that would crack seal all of this area. We also have some pavement seal coat bids out, which will then seal the red areas, and then we'll also develop a helicopter area as part of this project, adding some asphalt so the helicopters can land there. So we're really excited about this project. I think you've already seen it, but you'll see it even more and more. A lot of great improvements coming to our airport.
Good. Any questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we approve the 2018 Airport Asphalt Preservation Project.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Scopes, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Legacy Farm Quitclaim Deed C4-C Lot 135.
Okay, so as Legacy Farms was laying out their lots, it's important for residents to have relatively square lots if possible. It's not always possible, but some land that was dedicated to the city for parks, open space, trails, and a sewer easement infringed on making one of these lots. And so rather than having a weird triangle taken out of this lot, we are proposing to deed that triangle to Fieldstone so that it can be included in this lot. It's a total of 112 square feet. I think that's 0.003 acres, which or 0.0025 acres. It's not even $100 worth of land, so we would propose deeding it back. It was originally deeded to us from Fieldstone, and that's our recommendation.
Be a weird fence line if we held it there.
Some resident would not appreciate the city.
Exactly. All right, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we approve the Legacy Farms Quitclaim Deed C4-C Lot 135.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Scopes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, need to adjourn into RDA.
Move we adjourn into RDA.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Gordon, second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are in.
Motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, second by Councilman Argal to go in public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argal.
Ish.
Getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah,
We did.
Motion dies for lack of.
There you go. Perfect. There's the first time, Stacy. It died.
Didn't vote.
All right, we're still in public hearing. Go ahead.
Cookie circulation. I was wondering what that. He's eating them.
Okay, other budget. You guys now put on your RDA hats because you guys are on the board for the RDA. Next, oh, I've got it right here. Here we go. So this is the RDA budget. We have to send in a separate budget. to the state auditor's office, telling them what our RDAs are doing. And right now we have 5 active RDAs. 2 just came on the last 2 years. Sierra Bonita, which is Young Living, and Corona is the, what do you call it? Cane Creek out in that area. So these 2 are back one. These 2 are ones we've had for almost 20 years. They're in their last couple years, and they'll be retiring. If you want to up them again, you have to go through a process to up them again. This one goes for probably 1 more year, and the windmills, the commitment to their developer will be all gone and will be closed out also. So if we don't re-up them, then those values that are in those areas then become new growth that will flow through to the school district and to the city and to all those areas. Right now, their values have been taken out of the calculations because the property tax has been used in this area. As they retire or sunset, then that value is supposed to be new growth. Sometimes you have to double check to make sure it is. But the budget for this year is this column right here with the red arrow. And this is last year's over here. So you can see there's the 925 we talked about, the transfer in for the sales tax. We're using some fund balances that are money that's already there. Kirby Lane has got a large expenditures here to finish up that road, the new road between Sapo Hydro and the show house. The RDA's helping cover some of the expenses of that. Anyway, this is the budget for 2019 for discuss, and then in 2 weeks we'll adopt this budget.
Okay, we're in a public hearing. Anybody from the public who would like to address us? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilmember Beck. Approve the consent items. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, because we're still in RDA. Okay, are you okay with that? Huh? Hey, let's pretend like there was. Oh, minutes, he meant minutes. So correct them that they were minutes.
Well, every.
Hey, don't let a little thing like that stop you. All right, I'd entertain a motion to go out of RDA.
So
Or-
moved.
We did approve your budget, right?
We have.
Oh, we have.
We adjourn back.
No,
to
wait,
the-
We don't approve it.
we don't approve it.
We
Okay.
closed the public hearing, right?
We closed it.
Yep.
Now I move that we reconvene to city council.
Second?
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argyle. Go back. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move we go into closed session for reasonably imminent litigation and real property land transaction.
Are you sure, Gordon?
Second?
Motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argyle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're now in closed session. Thanks you, public, for being here.
Every CDA gets its line.